Hi friends, I'm Rev Leigh Anne Armstrong and this is Gimme 5. If you'll give me 5 or so minutes, I'll do my best to give you a spiritual deep breath to begin your week with. The lesson tonight is from chapter 20 of Luke and a little bit from the book of Haggai in the Old Testament. So let's dig in and see what we find out. The story from Luke is a question brought to Jesus from the Sadducees, who were a group of religious experts in the Jewish faith. So they brought a question to Jesus all about marriage and the resurrection, which was interesting, because the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. So their question was, Moses wrote that if a man's brother dies, leaving a wife but no children, the man shall marry the widow and raise up children for his brother. And their question was, if a man dies and leaves a widow, and the next brother in line in the family marries her, and he also dies, and this happens again, and the same woman ends up having married 7 brothers, then, I know, just go with it. Then the question was, whose wife would she be in the resurrection? So once they all get to heaven, whose wife is this really unfortunate widow who's been married to 7 brothers in one family? And Jesus said to them, not silly Sadducees, you don't believe in the resurrection, which would have occurred to me on most of my days. I'm going to go ahead and say it. But Jesus said to them, those who belong to this age marry and are given in marriage, but those who are considered worthy of a place in that age and in the resurrection neither marry nor are given in marriage. They can't die anymore because they're children of the resurrection. Jesus goes on to say, God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. For to him all of them are alive. An interesting answer from an interesting teacher. Let's dig in a little bit. This question that the church officials brought to Jesus was about levirate marriage. This was a matter of law for the Jewish people, while the law dictating that if a woman was left widowed without a male child, her dead husband's brother should step up and marry her and provide her a son in her husband's name. Well, that sounds strange to us. But this tradition in the law served to protect both the family line and the newly impoverished and vulnerable widow, now cut off from family to provide for and protect her. And the sad truth is that the law was probably needed because widows with no male offspring to tie them to their deceased husbands' families were not being protected or provided for. On being widowed, they became non-family and non-persons. Laws aren't made for no reason, after all. Just the existence of a law like this was indicative of the failure of human kindness and basic family loyalty. The system was failing, and the law was meant to make folk behave like, well, family. The church folk with a hidden agenda confronting Jesus with the never-ending marriage story. How tired that woman must have been of weddings. Got me thinking about our human habit of dragging the baggage of our flawed earthly systems into the kingdom and expecting that that baggage will function there rather than pollute the brand new place. While Jesus just shakes his head and mutters under his breath about why we think we are going to need all that stuff where we're going. The procedures, the rules, the cut and dried, the legalese. They were clinging so tightly to an already outdated way of looking at life, thinking they'd need it, expecting it would work in the next life. Meanwhile, Jesus sees the futility of importing non-kingdom systems into the full life of love we are called to on the other side of resurrected life. And then I look way back at a passage from Haggai paired with the gospel, and it felt like the same lesson. Haggai was to speak to the remnant, to ask them to lay down their fear and to take up courage, not for no reason, but because the Lord was with them, because God's Spirit abides with them. Wow. So even back here, generations before the gospel, we hear that the system the people were clinging to, in this case, fear, was unfit for the way of life they were being called to. Perhaps it had served them at some point, but they were being asked to leave it behind now for something braver and better. Beloved, as you go and go you will, know this. What served us in the past may be just that, past. Perhaps it is time to leave it there and listen for whether we are being called to better, to higher, to love.